Well, in today's live lesson, we're going to be talking about our ukulele journeys. I'm going to be sharing my journey. I'm going to share why I started playing the ukulele, why I kind of fell in love with the instrument, why I kept falling in love with it, and really how I got to this point in my journey that you see today. And while I'm talking about this, the coolest thing you could do is leave a comment about your journey too, because I genuinely want to know what yours is like, and maybe there are some similarities, some differences, but the magic behind this is that everybody has their own unique journey that they're on, and the common thread we all have is that we all just love the ukulele. And so it's so cool to find other people's journeys and see what makes it special for them. But let's go ahead and dive in. So let's start from the beginning. So I started playing the ukulele. I'm not quite sure on the year. I think it was around 2001 or 2002. So I was on my grandfather's boat. He had this beautiful 45-foot bayliner that he'd take up boating in British Columbia. And I got to go up with him some summers for a couple weeks at a time. And it was my favorite part of the summer, obviously, right? What's not to love about going boating in British Columbia? And one year I was up there, and this was, again, like 2001 or so, maybe a little earlier. And my Game Boy ran out of batteries. I think it might have been the year 2000 the first time. Yeah. So I had my Game Boy Pocket and it ran out of batteries, and it was raining on the boat, and Grandpa didn't have any AAAs, and I was bored. I had nothing to do, didn't know what to do. So Grandpa was like, well, why don't you learn how to play this? And he pulls out this. This is the actual one too. This is a Hohner ukulele. It is super warped. It's in terrible shape, but this was the ukulele. And he said, why don't you learn how to play this? And how to teach yourself how to play Melbay book, right? Now, if I had batteries or it was sunny outside, there's no way I was going to pick this thing up. But those sets of circumstances, fourth grade Matt was like, all right, I think it was 2000 maybe? Anyways, it's like, sure, why not? And Grandpa taught me the intro to the song 5'2". And what that looks like is something like this. And it's going to sound out of tune because this ukulele intonates terribly, but it's like, oh, that's actually kind of fun. That's kind of cool. And so I learned a couple chords, maybe C, F, and G7 from the Teach Yourself Melbay book that looked like it was from the 1950s or 40s. And it was like, oh, cool. And then the sun cleared up. We went and got some batteries, and I didn't touch it again for the rest of that trip. But the next year, I went out there, and it was like, oh, hey, that ukulele. And sure enough, my Game Boy had batteries, but I still picked it up and played that same little thing. And to go with that year I learned the chord progression to 5'2", of doing my first bar chord, things like that. It's like, that's kind of fun. It became this thing that I experienced while on my grandpa's boat. It was just this special little thing, right? And then another year went by, and I was playing it even more. And so during that year, I asked my parents, hey, can you buy me an ukulele? Like, I'm playing it now, right? I know a few chords and everything. And so upon getting home from my grandfather's boat, we bought an ukulele. It was a Lanikai ukulele. And I was stoked on it. I was so excited because I grew up playing musical instruments. I played piano for a couple of years, took lessons when I was in second to about fourth grade. And then I played clarinet for half of a year in fifth grade, and then switched to saxophone and played that until I was 16 or so. So I played musical instruments, but the ukulele was the first time I felt like I wasn't supposed to play it. Growing up, I kind of felt like I had to go practice, right? But the ukulele was kind of just for me. It was something I shared with my grandfather, and it made it this kind of cool, special thing of like, well, no, it's not in the school, it's not anything else, this is just kind of for me. And so that was the initial role that the ukulele had in my life, is just a fun thing I shared with my grandpa that I did for me, and I didn't do it to get better, I just did it because it was fun, right? And that kind of concludes the first little portion of my ukulele journey, was just, I learned a couple things, and I was content, and I had fun, and that was that. And honestly, if that was the conclusion of my journey, and I just continued to have fun playing a couple chords, it'd be a worthwhile journey. But I progressed in the journey, or rather evolved. And this leads to kind of the second point of this. So in early high school, I had an ukulele. At this point, I got another ukulele. I got what's called an Ovation ukulele. It was an acoustic electric, and so I'd sit there and play like Enter Sandman and things like that on it. It was super fun. Again, didn't do a lot with it, but just kind of had it. And in high school, I was a really avid skateboarder. And then I had some knee issues. I had a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to go into detail with that, but I had to get some surgeries and I had to stop skateboarding in high school. And I became kind of rudderless at that moment because skateboarding was such a big part of my life and I just couldn't do it anymore. And so at that same point in time, I saw that video of Jake Shimabukuro playing While My Guitar Gently Weeps in Central Park on YouTube, right? And that changed everything for me because when I saw that video, I saw all these cool tricks similar to like skateboarding. I really enjoyed doing tricks on skateboards and I saw, well, maybe I can do it with an ukulele with my hands because Jake kind of showed that. And so I became really obsessed with different techniques, trying to do different like rasguados and fans and things like that because that was the way I could skateboard. It was with my fingers on an ukulele. And at the same time, a really good friend of mine and mentor, his name's John Moen, he's a family friend. He was getting really into the ukulele as well. And so whenever I'd see him at whatever family event or anything, it was like, whoa, you can do a lot with this instrument. In fact, there's a few videos of us playing. I'm sure we'll link it on the recording of this. And so at that point, I really got into it. Like I was like, okay, this is my new thing. It became less just this little thing that I did occasionally and became like, this is the main thing I'm going to be doing with my free time, especially because I was dealing with all the physical therapy and stuff that went with the knees. And the ukulele became very therapeutic for me. So it wasn't really about music or about the sound of the instrument at this point in time. It was more just, oh, that looked cool. Can I do that too? And that's fine. You don't have to have the right reason to play the ukulele. Any reason that you have to pick it up is a good one. And for me, it was therapeutic in high school, not able to do the things I used to love so much and rediscovering some new things to go with that. It's pretty neat. Now, this time period, it was very brief because from there, it became my life just a few years later when I discovered Ukulele Underground. Because Ukulele Underground was the first community online of ukulele players. And I still remember I was sitting in physical therapy for my knees, and I was on my original iPhone I got for my 18th birthday. And I found Ukulele Underground. I always would Google ukulele, and one day it popped up. And it changed my life because I found a community of other people that were as enthralled with this instrument as I was. Nowadays, we kind of take that for granted, right? Because there's so much, there's almost too much out there, right? There's too many ways to connect. And with this, it was that just, that brightness within a lot of dark to see, oh my gosh, there's all these other people that just love the ukulele. And so I started playing a lot of new stuff because people were sharing things on Ukulele Underground. In fact, I found some tabs of some different Jake Shimabukuro songs at that point too. And one of the tabs I downloaded and found, which you can't find these anymore, Jake has some great books out where you can learn these songs, but I found a bootleg tab of Dragon, one of Jake's songs. It's a song that uses tapping. We go back to like the tricks and stuff, right? I was enthralled with maneuvers on the ukulele. And Dragon was like the ultimate song that did that. And that song sounds and looks something like this. Bring the camera down. It's one of my favorites. It sounds like this. And I was obsessed. I practiced all day, every day. When I found that tab, I just did nothing but learn that song. And it was definitely too high of a skill level for me to be starting with. I did not know how to play many things at all. It was kind of one of my first solo instrumental songs that I was ever going to learn, and I just became enthralled with it. So I decided at that point in time when I was learning the song and doing the Ukulele Underground, I was like, this is cool. I really enjoy this. And then an ukulele festival happened. And this ukulele festival happened in Seattle. Actually, I have a prop. One moment here. So to go with this year, This ukulele festival happened. This ukulele festival was like the turning point for a lot of things for me. So this was in 2008, right? Same year that I started playing and discovered Ukulele Underground and all that type of stuff. And I lost my mind with this festival because it had these incredible players. James Hill, John King, Herboda Sr., Herboda Jr. were all there. It was this incredible lineup. And this is actually the only ukulele festival I ever went to as a non-working musician. And at this festival, I realized I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something with this for a job. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do something, right? Because I just loved this experience so much. I just wanted to share that with other people. And I wanted to be able to be a part of it. And so sure enough, this transitions into the next stage of my life doing this, which is I turned it into a job. And in fact, this was 2009. In 2009, I was on the list of performers, and I got to play with James Hill, who came back out for it, and play with other amazing artists as well. And it's because I just dedicated that full year to the craft of playing and learning everything I could. And I got some incredible opportunities that I'm so fortunate to have gotten, including playing at that ukulele festival at Dusty Strings in Seattle, but also being able to go and play at an ukulele festival in Cairns, Australia. And the way I got that gig was kind of funny. I was just posting videos on Ukulele Underground a lot, and Lanakai Ukulele saw a video of me doing that and asked, hey, do you want to come play at the NAMM show, which is a big music trade show? I was like, yes. And so I went and played it. And then they said, hey, do you want to go tour Australia? How would 20-year-old Matt say no to that, right? Like it was the easiest no-brainer of my life. And so I went and I got to tour and play, and I was way, way outside of my skill level. I was playing with artists like James Hill and Daniel Ho and Jason Arimoto and Craig Cheat. Like I was playing with these incredible players who were light years ahead of me in terms of experience, but they helped propel my experience way beyond what I thought it would ever go. Because of that mentorship and just helping. Everyone was so excited to help. It was so communal. It was just an amazing experience. And at that time, I wrote one of my first songs. I think it was like the third or fourth song I wrote, called Crossing Hemispheres, because I wrote it when I went from one hemisphere to the other. And it sounds something like this. Bring the camera down. And so it was all this cool strumming stuff which stemmed from a lot of the Jake Shimabukuro style and the tricks, right? All this, what we call ghost note strumming, was something that I just absolutely fell in love with, specifically on a high G ukulele, because I felt like I was doing tricks. When I'd play a song like this, I felt like I was doing a line of tricks on a skateboard. And eventually that mindset did shift, where I wasn't thinking of it as skateboarding on four strings. Carol had a great comment here saying you could do tricks on these four strings like doing tricks on your skateboard. It's exactly what it felt like. But at the same time, when I started to be able to do it more of it as a job, I fell in love with the instrument musically. And it's kind of funny to think about how long it took me for it to become a joy of music as opposed to just the joy of doing the stuff, if that makes sense. But it definitely hit, and it hit hard. And I started writing more music, and I started having a lot of fun with experimenting by listening to other artists. At this time, I was in college studying music, taking every music credit I could, bringing my ukulele to every single class, and just playing. And I fell in love with adapting that music theory and adapting concepts to the ukulele, because the ukulele is kind of a limited instrument, and you have to think creatively. And that became a puzzle to me, and that is really what made me fall in love with writing and arranging music. Is I felt like I was playing with a puzzle. I was trying to fit all the pieces inside this little instrument that we love and called the ukulele. And so that was a really satisfying thing for me to do. And at the same time, I started to teach more because people would see my videos on Ukulele Underground and just message me on the forums. Hey, can you teach me that? I'll pay you. It's like, you'll pay me to talk to you about ukulele? Sign me up. And so at this point in time, I had a nice little base of students. I had probably 6 or 7 people I was teaching online. It was like, oh, this is a little side gig. I was in school. I was working on writing music and performing music. And that word performing is funny because I thought I wanted to be a performer. I thought that's what I was supposed to do and what I would enjoy doing. And as I started doing this as a job, that just came with the territory. It's like you go to a festival to perform. Oh, and you also can teach too. And it was a really interesting dynamic because I thought I loved performing. I thought I was supposed to love performing, but every time I had to do it, I'd get so stressed. I'd get so anxious. I'd have so much stage fright, anxiety, everything else that goes with it. And as I kept doing it, I realized, well, this anxiety is not getting any better. Like the anxiety is still there. I'm getting more comfortable being anxious, but I still don't want to be anxious. And I had this sort of realization as I was doing these tours and playing and doing this more for a job is how much more I looked forward to any time I got to do lessons versus when I got to perform. I always preferred being able to help somebody else learn how to do something they didn't think they could do than showing somebody else something I can do, if that makes any sense. And so I had this transition as I was doing it for a job where it became a career because I decided to focus more on chasing that feeling. Chasing the feeling of helping other people in the way that I liked to be helped when I was learning. The same, these amazing opportunities with these incredible artists that I mentioned before that helped me and learn so much. And it's like, man, if I could help someone else, even a fraction of as much as I've been helped, it's gonna make my day, and hopefully it'll make theirs too. And so that was the next stage, and this stage is the longest stage so far of my career, which is kind of funny, or of my journey playing ukulele, because this mindset shifted a little bit before my shortly after I got married, basically. So this was about 10 years ago, where I decided, hey, I'm going to teach. I'm still going to write music. I'll still perform. I'll still play. I love playing. But what I really enjoy is helping other people learn how to play in new, different ways. And I decided at that point, I'm going to focus on that. And I've been doing that since. And now it's been over 10 years of giving one-on-one lessons. I've given well over 10,000 one-on-one lessons because I've had the amazing opportunity to talk to people about ukulele and find people that wanted to learn. And it's been amazing. And these lessons here on Rock Class 101 are a representation of those experiences with people one-on-one, helping them on their ukulele journey. And so it shifted for me. It went from like, oh, I can do these cool tricks on this instrument to, wow, music's awesome. I'm going to learn theory and adapt it to the ukulele. I'm going to write songs, I'm going to arrange songs, to then, oh, I'm going to help other people do this stuff. I'm going to try to make my life about helping other people's lives become more infused with whatever awesome aloha spirit the ukulele can give them. And it's been an amazing journey at that point since. Now, I don't practice nearly what I used to. I don't play the ukulele all the time. A lot of times people think I play it every day. No, not really. But I teach it more days than I don't. And I look forward to that all the time. And there are times where I'm playing more. If I'm getting ready for a festival or performing or anything, like I definitely am practicing much more at that time. But generally speaking, now the journey for me has evolved into something of just trying to help other people find that joy, find that find that engagement with the instrument in their own way. Most people don't think of playing the ukulele like skateboarding. I think I might be one of the few that did that. And that's not a right or wrong way to approach it. And whatever you do on your ukulele journey to connect with the instrument is great. And there's no one that can tell you anything else. So when I learned Dragon, should that have been the first song I learned? No way. But I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't. And that's what's cool about these journeys. And so as I look back now at this time, right, what I think about is what started the joy of the ukulele for me. Well, it was that connection with my grandfather, evolving into seeing Jake play it and just being enthralled with all the tricks, basically, with all the different strumming and all that cool stuff. And then that turned into a musical exercise, working within the puzzle. I love the confines of the ukulele. I love how limited the range was. Then it became a problem-solving exercise of fitting all this theory I was studying in college to the instrument. And that turned into more performing and playing and trying to do it for a job. And then it became a career of teaching and helping other people unlock those things that I loved unlocking so much myself. And that's kind of my ukulele journey in a nutshell. I've gotten some really good opportunities more recently. I've kind of rediscovered some playing in the last few months, or I guess 6 months or so, where I've been playing more, just enjoying it. And I'm very forgiving to myself, where the journey is going to look differently at different points in my life, and that's okay. The common thread is that I always love this instrument, and I always love the time I spend with it, especially the time I spend with it with other people who are loving it. And so that's my journey. I would love to hear your journey. I would love to hear it. So if you're watching this live, please feel free to leave a comment. I would love to share in your journey. If you're watching this as a recording, still leave a comment. I'll be looking at the comments of this. I'm really excited to hear about your journey, because that's going to help me as a teacher understand even more about what people are working on, what they enjoy, and what made them gravitate towards this amazing instrument. I'm going to check the chat right now, see if there's anyone leaving any comments. There was some on the forums as well. If you're watching this as a recording on Rock Class 101, there's always a forum post every time for these live lessons, which we do these live lessons the second Tuesday of the month at noon Pacific time every month. So if you can't make it live, you can leave your comment in the forum. I'll be sure to answer it. And so there's one here from the Bumble Bard, who's always has amazing comments. Such a fun topic. Looking forward to hearing some uke origin stories. For me, I started playing uke because I had to sell my childhood piano because it was broken. I saw someone playing a uke in a YouTube video, so I thought I'd finally buy one to fill the void left from losing my piano. Then I fell in love with playing uke, and I continue to play it because it brings me so much joy in my life and also helps with anxiety. For me, I didn't like playing piano, mainly I think because I was forced to, and no slight to my parents or anything like that. They gave me all the support in the world, but the ukulele was for me. I loved the ukulele because it was my thing, right? And so yeah, it's once you get bit by that bug, it's pretty hard to break out of. I'm so sorry to hear that you had to sell your childhood piano. I hope that you've gotten another piano since and can rekindle that playing. But I love that the ukulele was able to fill that void and help with anxiety. Yep, that's the number one reason I think people should play musical instruments, especially adults, is give them some happiness. It's really important. She also says, and this is a wild paragraph. Matt, I wonder if you'll share the part of your origin story when you traveled interdimensionally to an island filled with capuchin monkeys, but in that alternate universe, you not only teach them ukulele, but also become a sort of Santa Claus-esque figure to them because sometimes you seem like you could be a young Santa Claus. So I'll take that as a compliment. I just shaved the beard, unfortunately, so I'll grow that back out. But yeah, they're my elf monkeys, and we build ukuleles for people. It's a good time in that interdimensional reality. There's some comments here on YouTube. Martin says, met Aldrine in 2011 and fell in love with the ukulele. Wish I would have been as dedicated as you at this time. Yeah, and I hear you on that, Martin. A lot of people start taking lessons and they started their journey much earlier, and then they're like, oh, if only I started playing when I started playing, right? They buy the ukulele and they kind of waffle a bit, and then 10 years later they decide, oh, I'm really going to play, and then they feel bad that they didn't for all those years, right? But on that note, when I started playing this thing, when I was 10 years old, 11 years old, I don't remember, 12 years old, whatever I was, I didn't stick with it, right? I just played it a couple times over a few years. And it wasn't really, I didn't get super serious playing the ukulele until I was, super serious not until I was 18, but I didn't start playing with some level of seriousness until I was like 15. And so I wasted a lot of time there, right? But if I think about that time that's wasted, what does that accomplish, right? Instead, what I should be doing is just think about how thankful I am that I had that moment to lead, right? That I first discovered it, rediscovered it, and then fully embraced it. Because I think if I did this in any other order, my journey would look a lot different. So I'm not somebody who believes in fate and everything happens for a reason, not to go too down that rabbit hole, but I do believe that situations, you can always find something positive from. And in my case, all those knee injuries really sucked in high school, and it was not a fun time. But without it, I wouldn't have discovered the ukulele, and I wouldn't be sitting here today. So I'll take those as a blessing instead of a curse. But it's, focus more on what you're doing right now, and it's amazing how much progress you'll be able to make in short amount of times, especially when you have some level of playing. So I don't see any other comments in the chat. I'm going to leave it on here for one more moment, see if anybody else wants to share anything with their ukulele journey. I know that can be a stressful thing, right? Because it's like, oh, I don't want him to read my ukulele journey out loud. Again, you can leave the comment after this video is posted, and I'll be sure to read it. Or you can even send us a message on Rock Class, and ask or share away, because I would love to know about it. And so just to recap my journey, I kind of summarized into 4 kind of pieces, right? The first one was how it all started, learning 5'2" on my grandpa's ukulele over the summer. Learning how to do this very basic thing over a few different years, right? All because my Game Boy ran out of batteries and I was bored. But then I kind of fell in love with just playing this and having it as this little escape. And so a couple of years later, I bought my own ukulele, or my parents bought me an ukulele and played it a bit. And it just kind of was a nice part of my life. And that was the first sort of phase, lasted a few years. The second phase is when it took off. I really got into it. And that's because I had those knee problems in high school, and I discovered Jake Shimabukuro, and a good friend of mine named John Moen was playing a lot, and got a nicer ukulele, and just was like, this is so cool. I want to do all the tricks, all the different sounds and different cool things. Learning things like the 10-finger roll is basically skateboarding through ukulele, right? And it really became a good therapeutic thing for me in high school to just have something for me that had that creative, it scratched that creative itch, to do new tricks and do new things like that. That became my life shortly after that ukulele festival at Dusty Strings, when I discovered Ukulele Underground. I decided at that point, I need to do this. I'm going to figure out a way to do this for a living somehow. And sure enough, it became my job by teaching and doing festivals and other things like that. And that morphed into it becoming a career when I discovered how much I love teaching and how much I love helping other people on their journeys find the most success by virtue of the most enjoyment on their journeys. I measure the success of a student not based on their skill level, but rather by their enjoyment on their journey. If they are enjoying it more and more and more, I'm doing my job right. So, well, thank you so much for attending this. This was a very interesting live stream. Drew asked me if I could share my ukulele journey, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. That'll be kind of fun just to go down memory lane. I hope I didn't bore you too much with my story. I would love to hear your story and know what you're doing on your journey. So feel free to share them in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you all next month for the next live lesson. Again, the second Tuesday of every month at noon Pacific time. Thank you so much. Take it easy. I'll talk to you soon.